What's going on, guys? It's your boy Timmy, and I'm back once again, like I promised, with the NFL video. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the NFC conference, the teams, which I'm going to talk about which teams I think out of the 16 teams in the conference, which 7 teams I think are going to make the playoffs. And most of the teams from last year should be in there. There might be a few changes, but for the most part, every team from last year should be in there. And let's get right into the video. The first team I'm going to talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles did something that I was hoping that they didn't do, and I was very disappointed, hurt, all of that. They signed my running back, Saquon Barkley. And I say my running back because, as you guys know, I'm a Giants fan. So it hurt me to see him leave. I knew he was going to leave because from the conversations that it looked like we were having prior to free agency, it looked like that we weren't going to pay him because we had to build on our offensive line. And I'm going to make a separate video talking about the Giants after that, just talking about them specifically because they're my team. But I wanted Saquon to go to any other team except for the Eagles, Cowboys, or Commanders. And he stayed in the division and went 2 hours to Philadelphia. Now, I got over it. Realistically speaking, this was a really good move for them. He had a down year because, the Giants' offensive line was horse you know what. But it was also because, he's always been pretty banged up throughout his career so far, always getting hurt. And he got hurt last year to start the season, and he didn't have his best year. But I do think he's definitely an upgrade from DeAndre Swift. So the thing about the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not going to lie, they won the offseason. As much as it hurts me to say it, they won the offseason. They had a great draft in drafting Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean is a freak athlete, by the way, who played a bunch of sports in high school, great DB in college, and he could play safety. They could slide him to safety if they really wanted to. And then on top of that, you signed Quinyon Mitchell, probably the best corner in the draft. And you still got those other two corners in Slay and Bradbury. I mean, you can say what you want about Bradbury, but they're gonna have to play. He's gonna have to play. He's gonna be on the field because they paid him. He's under contract. It's not no minor contract. It's a big contract. So you got those two corners, and you could put Quinyon Mitchell in there as your third corner. Whether he's gonna play the slot, I'm not sure. And then Cooper DeJean, he could really play safety with Gardner Johnson really in the backfield because they brought back Gardner Johnson, because he was with them with their Super Bowl run, and then he left to go to Detroit last year. Now he's back with them this year. And then the linebacker, another thing that they couldn't do, that they struggled with last year, was stopping the run, specifically with the linebacker core. So they bring in Devin White. They brought in Devin White from Tampa, which was a great move. And then you still got Jalen Carter on your front. On your front line on defense, and then your offensive line, you got 2 top 10 tackles on the same team in Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. You lose Jason Kelce, but they brought in another offensive lineman in the draft, and from what I've been hearing, he's gonna do just fine at center. So Saquon Barkley, behind an improved offensive line with the talented receivers that they got with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, with the explosiveness of Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley's job he's not going to be the main focus anymore. And I think he's going to have a bounce back year. He's a top 5 back when healthy, just in my opinion, because I've seen it before. I've seen what happens when he's right. In 2022, and these are the highlights from 2022, with the terrible offensive line, he had 10 touchdowns and over 1,300 yards. I think he can get back to that for sure with this Eagles roster. And the thing that the Eagles did, 2 things that they did that shocked me and impressed me. They signed to deliver everybody. They made everybody's a happy camper. Jalen Hurts is obviously under contract. They locked up A.J. Brown. They locked up Devontae Smith. Both tackles, Mailata and Johnson. The corners are under contract. So everybody's intact. They're fully healthy. This team, I think I have them finishing first in the conference. Now, if they don't win the Super Bowl, obviously it's going to make my day. But this is going to be all for nothing. Oh, and on top of that, they had Coach Pencil, and for those who don't know who that is, Matt Patricia. He was their coordinator last year, and then their offensive coordinator last year, I forgot his name, but he obviously offensively he wasn't calling the plays that he was calling were pretty bad because I was watching them after they went from 10-1 to 11-6, and then they got mollywopped in the wild card against Tampa Bay. I think they'll be just fine this year, bringing in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio is a very respected defensive coordinator, and he's done he did a pretty solid job in Miami. Miami just had a lot of injuries they had to deal with, but for the most part, he was a pretty good defensive coordinator. And then Kellen Moore, I know he was with the Chargers, but do you realize who was running that clown show? Brandon Staley. And we don't have to get into that, and then Justin Herbert was hurt, so it was like an up and down year for them. But when he was with Dallas was a top 3 scoring offense with Kellen Moore calling the plays. They were always finishing first, second. They were always top 3 in points per game because Kellen Moore just knows how to call plays. He just knows how to call plays. So this Philadelphia team, they're forced to be reckoned with. So I think I have them finishing first in the conference. The next team I'm going to talk about is the Detroit Lions. To me, I got the Detroit Lions finishing as the 2nd seed in the conference. And it's going to sound like a shocker, but I have them coming out the NFC. If not, they're definitely making the NFC Championship game, just like they did last year. And here's why. Is Jared Goff known to crumble in big situations? Yes, but he's an above-average quarterback. He's a top 15 quarterback in this league. And in the NFC Championship game that they lost, up 17, it wasn't his fault. It was play calling and the defense. When you give your team a 17-point lead, the defense has got to withstand. And as we all know, the biggest flaw for the Lions was their secondary because it was horse you know what. And yes, they lost Gardner Johnson, but then they made a win-now move in trading for Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis is a pretty solid corner. And then they get Rakestraw. They get Ennis Rakestraw in the draft, which I loved. It was a big move. It was a nice move. And then you get the corner in the first round. Terrion Arnold. You get Terrion Arnold in the first round. Great corner. Right behind Quinion Mitchell is the best corner in the draft, really. So you improve the secondary. I think Terrion Arnold is going to be an instant starter. That's just me. And then another two moves that they made that I really liked to ensure that they can stop the run and get after the quarterback was signing Marcus Davenport and DJ Reader. DJ Reader is a stud. He's been pretty productive in Cincinnati. I like them in being on the interior for Detroit. And then you bring in Marcus Davenport, who was a bit up and down with the Saints, but you already have Aiden Hutchinson. So with Aiden Hutchinson and DJ Reader you have to worry about, Marcus Davenport is going to get free looks to get after the quarterback and make some big defensive plays. The Lions they had a top 3 run defense last year. What do you think is going to happen again this year? They're only going to get better. And then you have a top 10 wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. A top 5 running back room with Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a stud. You got Montgomery. Now, the loss of Josh Reynolds, it is going to hurt a little bit. And should they go after another wide receiver? Yes, I do believe so. Now, whether they're going to trade for one or sign one in free agency, I don't know. And I do think that they'll probably address it, but I like what they have. And then they have a top 5 tight end in Laporta. Laporta's a stud. He's a top 5, top 10 tight end. Laporta is a stud. I love everything that they've done this offseason. And that's why I have them finishing 2nd in the conference. The next team I'm going to be talking about is the San Francisco 49ers, and I have them finishing 3rd. The reason why I have them finishing 3rd this year and not first like they did last year or even 2nd like they did 2 years prior is just for the simple fact that the NFC is getting better, and they lost the Super Bowl last year, so that might do something to their morale. It's not going to make them like god awful, but I took a peek at their schedule. They have a pretty not shaky schedule, but a little more. It's definitely a harder schedule compared to last year's. So, and them being 3rd is not a knock on them. I still think they're going to win the division convincingly, and they're going to finish the conference 3rd in the conference. They had the Brandon Ayuk situation. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Even though he requested a trade, he came to camp, which that just genuinely means that he still wants to be a 49er, really. He's just upset he didn't get his money yet. As you know, So he's just acting out as of right now. I think he deserves to get paid, but I don't think, like, at first I thought, he was actually going to get traded to Washington or New England or Buffalo or even Pittsburgh. But because he reported to camp, I'm pretty sure that indicated that they're not going to trade him. They're going to pay him because he wants his money. Trent Williams didn't come into camp either, so they got to get that situated. And then next season they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. He's probably going to get something damn near close to $300 million. So there's just a lot of things they have to take into account. They still have the same defense, the same offense. They did lose Chase Young, but they replaced him with Leonard Floyd, who's a bit older. He's not a bit older. He is older. Probably not going to be as explosive as Chase Young, but he's still very productive as he was in that Super Bowl run with the Rams, dating back to almost 3 years ago. So yeah, they're still gonna be a top team in the conference. They have the best running back in the league. They have a top 10 wide receiver, 2 top 15 wide receivers, a top 3 tight end when healthy, the best tackle in football, and arguably the best defensive player in football. And Nick Bosa is definitely top 3. So yeah, and their secondary is no joke. People like to sleep on it. Ward. You have what's this guy's name? The corner. Forgot his name. But the corner, he's also very nice. He's very steady. And then they have 2 top 10 linebackers in football. Definitely have the best middle linebacker in all of football. Dre Greenlaw is coming back from injury, so him being sidelined, he's probably going to be sidelined for a couple of months. He's probably not going to come back until the end of the season. So that's going to sting a little bit. But overall, I do think that they should be okay. That's why I still have them finishing 3rd. The next team I have on this list is the Atlanta Falcons. I have them finishing 4th in the conference, and they're going to win their division. The past 3 years, the Falcons have finished the season 7-10. And if you watch their games closely, they'll lose games like 10-3. They'll lose 17-10 or 14-7. You want to know why that is? Because they've had a great defense the past 3 years. A good to great defense, an above average defense year in and year out. They just have had really poor quarterback play. Desmond Ridder, Heineke, the list goes on and on. So, and this year they finally got a quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He's not great, but he's an above average quarterback. He's a middle of the pack quarterback. He's an above average quarterback. Now, he is coming off a career threatening injury, and that may cause some concern. But he's not like a Lamar Jackson. He's not like he doesn't really need to run out the pocket to be effective. He can throw from in the pocket. The Falcons, the quarterback was really the only thing they're missing. They have great receiver. They have a great receiving core, a good to great receiving core. They have an amazing offensive line. They have a really good front line. Now, do they need another? Could they get another edge rusher? Yeah, but other than that, their front line is pretty solid, and they have a really good secondary, and they have a good coach. A real first year head coach, Raheem Morris, who knows how to call plays defensively. So I'm sure he'll see some of the defensive plays that'll be called this season. Now, they paid Kirk Cousins a king's ransom, considering the injury he's coming off of. Now, I believe that if they were going to draft Michael Penix all along, they should have just traded for Justin Fields. That's just me. They should have just traded for Justin Fields. Have Fields and Penix battle for the starter spot. Or if you want, you could just have Penix sit behind Justin Fields and have him observe a little bit. That's just me. That's the route I would have went. I wouldn't have paid Kirk Cousins the type of money that they would have. But the reason why I have them finishing 4th is because, one, that division, you know the rules in the NFL. Once you win a division, you automatically get a home playoff game. So they're going to get the 4th seed, but they'll actually have a solid record this season. They'll probably be 9-8, maybe 10-7, I'm not sure. But they'll win their division just only because out of all the teams in their division, they have by far the easiest schedule. And I don't really see the Saints or definitely not the Panthers making a run in that division. And the Buccaneers, they can, But I just feel like because the Falcons division is easier, and because the Falcons schedule, is easier than the Buccaneers, and because the Buccaneers did lose a few guys, like they lost Carlton Davis, they lost Devin White. I think Levante Davis is not really too happy with his contract situation, if I'm not mistaken. They did keep Baker and Mike Evans and still have Chris Godwin and all those guys. But I feel like with the loss of Devin White and Carlton Davis, and then on top of that, they lost their offensive coordinator, Dave Canales. He's now the head coach of the Panthers. They might slip a little bit. They might stay the same, but I think the Falcons will just be better than them for the simple fact that they have the better schedule in their favor. So I got the Falcons finishing 4th in the conference, and they're going to win the division. The next team I have finishing as the 5th seed will be the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers finishing 5th, honestly, it's not a bad thing. It's just really because I think the Lions are going to win their division. They're the best team in that division. So I think they're going to win the division once again. And I think Green Bay, instead of sneaking in and being 7th, I think they're going to get the 5th spot. And they'll probably have to play the Falcons in the wild card. Now, Jordan Love, he just got paid yesterday. I think it was yesterday. He got paid yesterday. There's a 4-year, $220 million extension. Very happy for him. I know it was just after 1 year, but him sitting behind Aaron Rodgers those 3 years, and he had a couple of flashes, and he looked pretty solid. He started off because it was really his rookie season. He started off the season a little rough, but once he got the hang of it, he was able to finally get over the hump. To me, I feel like the Packers, they're coming. They're coming. They fired Joe Barry. I think he wasn't the best DC in the league. He was one of the more weaker DCs in the league. They replaced him with a guy from college. But I think he'll be able to get over. I think their defense will be much improved. And I know they lost Bakhtiari, but they replaced Bakhtiari with one of the better offensive linemen in the draft. With the I believe they had the 24th or the 25th pick. But they replaced him with one of the better tackles in the draft. And they got Xavier McKinney, my guy from the Giants, a top 10 safety. I knew McKinney was probably going to leave. And I even figured, I was like, the Packers could use him. And they got him. They got a hell of a safety. I know they paid a lot for him. He's making $17 million a year. And I don't think any of the top 5 safeties are making that much, or not all of them at least. But he's a pretty productive safety. He's a great coverage guy. He knows he's a high IQ guy. He knows he's always in the right place at the right time, making big plays. So the Packers got themselves a dog. Jordan Love is a dog himself, I think. And on top of that, yeah, they lost Aaron Jones, but they got Josh Jacobs, and then they drafted Marshawn Lloyd from USC, and he was a pretty solid running back. So that running back group is looking pretty well. And then the receiving core, like they're not big names. They're not no Devontaes or CeeDee Lambs or Justin Jeffersons, but they're steady guys that make plays. To me, I always thought Christian Watson was going to be the guy, but he's been getting sidelined with injury a lot. Romeo Doubs is taking that next leap, and he had that breakout game against the Cowboys in the wild card. But Dobbs, Watson, Dontavion Wicks, I think he's gonna take that next leap. Sorry, you got Tucker Kraft, you got Luke Musgrave as their part of your receiving core. So they got a nice little young team. Their team is very young too, but they're very good. And they got experience of what it's like to be in the playoffs now. Last year, making it to the divisional. Could have beat San Francisco, but I think that's where that experience kicked in, or that lack of experience thereof, where it kicked in. So I think with another year under their belt, under Matt LaFleur, maybe they'll take that next leap. I will say this, if they do regress after this year for some reason, Matt LaFleur will be on the hot seat because he has been there. When Aaron Rodgers won his last 2 MVPs, he's had a couple of playoff meltdowns, and then they overachieved last year. But if they somehow regress this year, he will be on the hot seat to me. So I do believe that they will be better. That's why I have them as finishing as the 5th seed in the conference. And yeah, like I said, offensively, they got some pieces, and defensively, signing Xavier McKinney, they paid Kenny Clark, so they have a nice little team. I think they'll probably finish either 9-8 again, or maybe 10-7, depending. maybe even 11-6 possibly. It depends on what Detroit finishes, honestly, because I still think the Lions are going to win that division, the NFC North. But I think the Packers, they're going to finish as the 5th seed in that conference. And look out, NFL, because they're making a run for it in the future. The next team that will finish 6th in the NFC conference will be the Dallas Cowboys, aka America's team. Another team I can't stand, not because they owned my Giants, but because their fan base is just annoying. Now, when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, GM and owner Jerry Jones had the infamous line, "We're going all in," right before free agency started in March. Since then, the only 2 signings that they made were Eric Kendricks from the Chargers, the linebacker, and Ezekiel Elliott. Out of all 32 teams, the Cowboys have spent the least in free agency. Now, they lost a lot. They lost Tyler Biotish. They lost Tyron Smith. They lost Dorrance Armstrong, Neville Gallimore. Leighton Vander Esch retired. Michael Gallup left, but he also retired. They might lose Stephon Gilmore. But also, they didn't pay their top 3 guys, Dak, CD, and Micah, which is bizarre to me why they didn't pay CD. I don't know. Out of all 3 of them, CD should have been the first one to be paid. Dak, I could kind of understand, but you don't want to lose him for nothing. And then Micah, I could kind of see why they didn't pay him either. But he's one of the best defensive players in the league. But he does tail off in the regular season. But he's still a pretty damn good edge rusher / linebacker. Like, he's one of the better defensive players in the league. CeeDee Lamb, he's a dog. To me, he's in my top 5 wide receivers. I don't know why he didn't get paid. But like I said, with Dak, I can kind of understand why. But you don't want to lose him for nothing. So the Cowboys, I looked at their schedule, and they do have a pretty hard schedule. But honestly, I got them at like around 10-7. Worst case scenario, 9-8. They lost a lot, but I think they still have a lot of pieces that make them the Dallas Cowboys still. Got, like I said, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and hopefully he'll be they get his contract situated before the season starts, because you don't want to start off the season without him. But assuming he's there, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Malik Hooker, you got Tyler Smith, and then they got Tyler Guyton, who at Oklahoma he was okay, but I think he'll get the hang of it being tackle. And they still got Zach Martin, and they still got Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, they got Brandon Cooks. So I still think that they'll I think they'll make the playoffs, but because I had them 6th, they'll play the 3rd seed, which I said was San Francisco. They're gonna lose in the wild card again, and that's just gonna be funny for me, because it just always happens when it comes to Dallas. They always get embarrassed in the playoffs somehow, some way. But yeah, I still got them making the playoffs. I don't think that. Yeah, they lost a lot, but they're still better than a lot of teams in the NFL. And people have to realize, yes, is Dak 2-5 in the playoffs? Yes. Does he fold in big games? Yes. Does a lot of it fall on him? Yes. He's the quarterback of America's most popular team. But it's not all on him. The defense has folded in a lot of these moments. Mike McCarthy has just folded in a lot of these moments. And then Jerry Jones, as an owner, he'll say things and then do the complete opposite. Like, he's just not, you never really know what you're going to get with Jerry. Like, he'll just be like, we got this. Like, don't worry about us. And then they'll be in panic mode throughout damn near the whole season. So I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs. They'll be 6th, but because I think the other 2 teams in that division, my team, the Giants and the Commanders, I think the Cowboys are still better than both of them. Washington is on the rise, though. I won't rule them out completely, but I still think the Cowboys, they're still the 2nd best team in that division, and they're better than all the other remaining teams left that I hadn't named. So, yeah, I think I have them finishing 6th, but that's about it. They're going to finish 6th and get bounced in the wild card by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the 7th seed and the final playoff spot will go to the Chicago Bears, in my opinion. Now, I went back and forth with this one. I was torn between choosing the Bears, the Buccaneers, and the Los Angeles Rams, because those were 3 teams I'm like someone's going to have to. That's what the NFL is always about. who's gonna get that final 7th spot. Seed 7 through 10 is always the toughest because those are from the 7th seed to the 10th seed, depending on the conference. 4 teams in contention for that last spot, and I was torn between choosing the Bucks, or the Bears or the Rams. But I just really looked at it from the schedule standpoint. The Bears do have the easiest schedule out of all these 3 teams that I just named. And I also wasn't sure about picking them because the quarterback is a rookie. But I just genuinely think that Caleb's game will translate to the NFL, and he has a lot of weapons. Like, I've never seen a rookie quarterback who went first overall go to a team with a loaded offense like this. And his defense is pretty good. The Bears had the best rush defense in all of football. Now, I'm not sure what the situation is with Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know if they're gonna re-sign him or they're gonna lose him, but nonetheless, they have Montez Sweat. That was a pretty good pickup. So, and then they have Jalen Johnson, one of the better corners in all of football. And then they still have I think they also picked up that safety in free agency. So, and then on offense, like I said, is DeAndre Swift Saquon Barkley? No. Is he a top 5 running back? No. Is he a top 10 not quarterback? Is he a top 10 is he a top 5 running back? No. Is he a top 10 running back? Depends on who you ask. But DeAndre Swift is still he's a Pro Bowler. He's still a pretty good running back. And the Bears offensive line isn't terrible. It's all right. And the receiving core it goes up there with the Texans. You have DJ Moore, you have Rome Odunze, then you have Keenan Allen, and then you still have Cole Kmet as your tight end, and they got Gerald Everett from the Chargers. So they have a pretty loaded offense. So they'll probably finish the season 9-8, maybe 8-9, but probably 9-8. This is going to be one of the tighter races for the NFC. Like, a lot of teams are going to have the same record because it's going to be so competitive. But, I just genuinely think that they'll probably get the last spot just for the simple fact that their schedule is probably the easiest out of the 3 teams I named between them, the Bucks, and the Rams. And it's not a knock on the Rams and Bucks. It's just like what I said about the schedule. So I got the Bears finishing as the 7th seed, getting the last playoff spot. But if they don't, Matt Eberflus and Ryan Pohl are definitely on the hot seat. I will say that much. That's one thing I'll say. Well, guys, this is my conclusion for the NFC predictions. I will drop another video for the AFC real soon. And I just want to thank you guys for the support, and thank you guys for just tuning in and seeing my insight on what I think goes on in the NBA and NFL. And I'll be back with another video. It's your boy Timmy, and I'm out.